In the far edge of the galaxy, there was a place no ship dared to cross. It was called the Terran Line, a silent border drawn around the blue world humans once called Earth long ago. The Galactic Council had marked that region as a dead zone, saying the planet had fallen, that no life remained there. Yet even in their arrogance, none of them ever dared to cross it. Strange stories drifted through the stars. Some said the humans destroyed themselves. Others whispered that something still lived beneath the clouds, waiting and watching. But those were only stories, old ghost tales told by pilots during long voyages, until one empire decided to test the truth. The Zorath Empire, proud and ruthless, laughed at the rumors. They believed no primitive species like humans could ever frighten the galaxy. They saw Earth as nothing but dust and forgotten ruins, so they sent a scouting fleet of 30 ships to the edge of the Terran Line. The commander, Admiral Corthan, stood at the bridge window, his silver armor reflecting the cold light of the stars. "Activate scanners," he ordered, his voice calm and confident. "Let us see this human ghost world." The ships moved slowly forward. Crossing the faint electromagnetic barrier left behind by ancient satellites, the sensors began to flicker, first with static, then with strange, unreadable signals. Interference. "Sir," one officer said nervously, "something is jamming our readings." Corthan laughed. Old human junk, nothing more. But deep inside his chest, a quiet unease began to grow. The static turned into whispers, soft and broken, like fragments of voices calling from deep space. Then, without warning, one ship vanished from the radar. No explosion, no light, no debris, just gone. "Where did the scout ship go?" shouted an officer. "Unknown, sir," came the reply. One moment it was there, next it disappeared. Panic spread through the fleet. But Corthan ordered them to stay calm. "Scan again. Find them." They scanned again and again, yet every few seconds another ship vanished one by one. The dots on the radar blinked out, until only Corthan's flagship remained. "Retreat," he roared. "Get us out of here." The engines roared. The ship turned hard to escape. But the stars around them began to fade. The light dimmed, the sensors froze, and a low hum filled the cabin. The voice returned, clear now. "Mechanical and cold, unauthorized entry detected. You have crossed the Terran Line." The crew looked at each other in horror. "Who said that?" the Admiral demanded. The voice continued. "Intruders will be erased," and then everything went white far away, on a quiet outpost near the edge of the Council's space. A lone communication officer stared at his console. His screen flashed for 1 second, an emergency ping from the Zorath fleet. Then nothing. The signal vanished completely. He tried again, sending distress hails, but there was no response. "Their entire fleet is gone," he whispered. "Just gone." When the report reached the Galactic Council, they dismissed it as sensor failure. They said the Zorath ships must have hit a black hole or a magnetic storm. "It is impossible for a dead world to destroy an Empire fleet," the Council speaker said. End of discussion. But not everyone believed that. In the mining colonies and among the outer worlds, whispers grew. The traders said that humans were not gone. They said Earth had become a fortress, sealed off by technology far beyond anything the galaxy had ever known. A pilot named Juno, who once served with the Terran fleets, heard the rumors while traveling through neutral zones. She listened silently as the others spoke of ghost fleets and vanishing ships. Then she said softly, "The Terran Line is not a wall to keep humans in. It is to keep others out." Her words silenced the room. Back on Earth, deep beneath the ashes of old continents, machines awoke from centuries of sleep. Massive underground vaults opened with a slow rumbling sound. The air filled with blue light as old defense systems came online. A quiet voice echoed through the command tunnels. "Warning, foreign intrusion detected." In a hidden control chamber, a human AI known as Sentinel Prime activated. Its single red eye glowed, scanning data from across the solar system. "Protocol Alpha, Terran Line breached," it said calmly. "Defense grid awakening." And far above, in the silence of orbit, the dark shapes of old Terran ships began to move. Their hulls covered in dust, their engines silent for centuries. Now they glowed again with cold blue fire. Earth had been quiet for a long time, but it had never been weak. The galaxy thought humanity was gone, but they were wrong. They had only been sleeping, and now someone had dared to wake them. The report of the vanished fleet spread faster than light across the known galaxy. Every starport, every colony, every military base whispered the same words. The Zorath fleet crossed the Terran line and never came back. Yet, inside the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, no one wanted to believe it. The council hall floated above a golden planet. Shining with pride and arrogance, hundreds of alien species filled the air with argument and laughter. As if nothing serious had happened, at the center sat the speaker, a tall, thin creature with eyes like glass. He raised a claw and said coldly, "The humans are extinct. Their world is ashes. Their machines rust in silence." A nervous ambassador from the Zorath Empire stood trembling. "But sir," he said, "our fleet's vanished. All 30 ships. We received no signal, no distress call, nothing." The hall erupted with laughter. The council dismissed it as human superstition. "Your captains were fools," another alien said. "They probably fell into a gravity well or destroyed themselves." The speaker nodded. "We will record this as pilot error." But deep in the shadows, one council member remained silent. Her name was Valara, from the Lyrian species. She was young but known for her curiosity about old human records. She had studied the forgotten wars, the fall of Earth, and the mysterious disappearance of its fleets. Now, as she listened to the mockery around her, she felt something cold and heavy in her heart. After the meeting, Valara returned to her private quarters and opened a sealed archive. It was forbidden knowledge, records from the old Galactic War. The screen flickered, showing human ships, black as night, moving through space with terrifying precision. The file title read, "Operation Silent Heaven, Terran Border Creation." Her eyes widened as she read the human text. "In the event of alien invasion or interference beyond Sol, activate Terran line, maintain no contact, erase all unauthorized intrusions," she whispered. "Erase all intrusions." And the words echoed in her mind like thunder. Meanwhile, far across space, in the secret outposts of the Zorath Empire, families of the lost soldiers demanded answers. Mothers and fathers gathered at the Imperial Hall, holding holograms of their missing children. One woman shouted, "They said it was safe. They said the humans were gone." The Emperor gave no answer, only stared at the star map where his ships had vanished. The area glowed red, marked as Class X restricted zone. Rumors began to spread that the Emperor was planning a second mission, a rescue fleet equipped with stronger shields and stealth drives. But those who remembered the first disaster begged him not to. "You can't fight what you can't see," they said. Still, his pride was greater than his fear. On Earth's moon, hidden within the shadows of craters, old Terran satellites reactivated. Their black metal surfaces glowed with blue runes. Silently watching inside one of them, an ancient AI spoke. "Galactic Council denies incident. Protocol Beta initiated." A transmission was sent through invisible channels, reaching Mars, Titan, and the forgotten colonies of Sol. In those dark corners, humans who had never stopped watching began to move. A deep voice echoed through encrypted comms. "The Council has forgotten us." "But we have not forgotten them." The message traveled across the void, waking systems that had been dormant for centuries. In a secret chamber beneath the Pacific Ocean, a sleeping cryopod opened. A human admiral stepped out, his eyes glowing faint blue. His name was Admiral Orion Cade, once the commander of the Terran Defense Grid. As he walked through the underground base, holograms flickered to life, displaying maps of the galaxy and lists of enemy fleets. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but heavy. "Zorath fleet eliminated," the AI replied. "Council denies knowledge. They will send another." Orion looked up at the glowing image of Earth and whispered, "Then we will remind them who we are." Back in the council hall, Valara tried to warn the speaker. "We cannot ignore this. The Terran line is not dead. It's alive." The speaker waved her off. "You are young, Lyrian. You still believe in ghost stories," but she persisted, showing him the data from her archives. "Look here," she said. "The humans built self-repairing defense grids. They could still be operating." The speaker laughed. "Machines cannot run for thousands of years without command." Valara's eyes narrowed. "You underestimate the humans, everyone does." That night, as the council slept under the lights of their perfect city, a faint signal pulsed through the stars. It was short and simple. "Terran line, breach confirmed. Next incursion will not be erased. It will be answered." Only Valara saw it. She stared at the message. Her hands shaking, she knew what it meant. Humanity was no longer silent. They were awake. They were watching. She whispered softly to herself, "If the Council sends another fleet, they won't just vanish this time. She looked toward the stars, her voice barely a breath. They'll start a war. The Zorath Emperor could not sleep. The loss of 2 fleets had torn the Empire's pride apart, and yet the Council called it myth. He stood before the great window of his palace, staring at the stars beyond his capital world. His eyes burned with anger. If the Council won't act, I will, he said coldly behind him. Generals waited in silence. Some looked afraid, some proud. None dared to speak. The Emperor turned, his voice sharp as steel. We will send a 3rd fleet, larger, stronger. Faster? I want proof. I want answers. I will not let humans haunt our name with stories of fear. The new fleet was massive. Over 100 ships, including dreadnoughts, carriers, and stealth destroyers, all armed with the newest anti-gravity cannons and shield systems. Each ship bore the mark of vengeance, the insignia of Zorath Prime. They called this mission Operation Dawnfire. Admiral Serix, chosen to command the operation, was known for his fearlessness. He stood before his crew and said, "We will not vanish like ghosts. We will bring back evidence. We will show the galaxy that humans are nothing but shadows of the past." But as the fleet moved toward the forbidden border, the stars seemed to grow darker. The moment they crossed the Terran line, their scanners went wild, every signal, every radar, every comm frequency filled with static. A low hum passed through every hull, deep and rhythmic. "Almost like a heartbeat, Admiral." "Our sensors can't read anything," a technician cried. Serix frowned. "Increase power. Lock on to any mass signatures," but all they saw was emptiness, perfect and endless. Suddenly, a voice echoed through every ship at once, soft but clear. "You were warned." The bridge went silent. "Who is speaking?" Serix shouted. No one answered, but outside the ships, strange blue lights began to flicker through the void. Shapes moved in the darkness, smooth and silent, as if the shadows themselves had come alive. The fleet opened fire, beams of plasma and light tearing through space, yet none of the shots hit anything. The lights danced around them, shifting, moving faster than any ship could track. Then, one by one, the ships began to vanish, not explode, not burn, just cease to exist, Admiral. An officer screamed, "The rear formation is gone." "How?" Serix demanded. "Where did they go?" "They're just gone, sir. No debris, no readings, nothing." And then the voice came again, colder this time. "You crossed the border. Now you belong to silence." The Admiral tried to send a distress call, but all communications died. His screens went black, his ship began to shake, as if something unseen was pulling it apart from within. The crew screamed, but before they could act, everything around them turned white. At the edge of the Terran line, far from the Council's eyes, an old human station reappeared for a brief second. It hovered like a ghost, its massive cannon still glowing blue. On its command deck, a hologram of a woman flickered to life. She wore an ancient Terran uniform and spoke softly. "Protocol Gamma confirmed. All unauthorized entities erased," another voice. Deep Inhuman responded, "Record it." "Recording complete." "Admiral Orion Cade," the AI replied. He nodded slowly. "Let them send more. The galaxy must remember why the line exists." Meanwhile, the Council was in chaos. Emergency transmissions arrived from Zorath Prime. Half their fleet missing, their capital under panic. The Speaker of the Council tried to calm the uproar. "It's a trick. It must be pirates or false signals." But Valara stood and spoke clearly. "No, this is real. You ignored the signs. You mocked their warnings, and now you have woken something older than your council." The Speaker glared. "You speak as if you know them." Valara's voice softened. "I studied them. The humans didn't die. They built walls of silence and weapons of light. They didn't vanish, they hid, waiting for us to make the first mistake. Across the outer systems, strange things began to happen. Ships passing near the Terran border reported ghost signals, phantom fleets drifting in formation. A miner's vessel once claimed to see a massive ship, black as night, moving slowly through space. The crew described its hull covered in ancient markings, glowing faint blue. When they tried to record it, their cameras showed only static. One message managed to escape before the miner's ship lost contact. It contained 3 words. "They are awake." In the quiet halls of Earth's underground command center, Admiral Orion watched the recordings. His reflection flickered in the holographic display. He turned to the AI beside him. "Begin shadow phase," he said. "Shadow phase activated," it replied. "Deploy phantom response units." From the darkness of the moon, sleek Terran ships emerged. invisible to sensors, each carrying weapons forged from forgotten wars. They moved silently, spreading across the border above them. Earth remained dark and calm, its blue glow hiding the storm beneath. Orion whispered softly, "They think we defend Earth, but Earth defends them. They don't understand." But they will. The galaxy had awakened a sleeping predator, and the first phase of the phantom response had begun. In the crimson shadow of Mars, storms of dust danced endlessly across the red plains. The planet had been quiet for centuries, but deep under its surface something ancient was waking. A pulse echoed through the rock, slow, rhythmic, and powerful, like the heartbeat of a giant far above the planet. The Galactic Council's research vessel Orion orbited in silence. It had been sent to investigate the disappearance of the Zorath fleets. The team aboard was small: scientists, soldiers, and one unwilling passenger, Counselor Valara. She had begged the speaker not to send another mission, but they ignored her words as the ship descended toward Mars. Her heart raced. The planet felt wrong, heavy, as if it remembered every war ever fought upon it. "Keep your scanners active," the captain said. "The Council wants results." The lead scientist nodded nervously. "Our instruments detect massive power readings underground." "Natural?" the captain asked. The scientist shook his head. "No, artificial. Ancient." The ship touched down in a canyon once known as Valles Marineris. Dust rose like smoke, covering the sunlight. The team exited in suits, moving carefully through the ruins of old Terran colonies. Valara looked around and whispered, "So it's true. Humans were here." They found a buried structure half covered in stone and rust. Huge metal doors sealed tight, symbols carved across them in the old Terran tongue. "Open it," the captain ordered. The engineers planted charges. The explosion echoed through the canyon, and when the smoke cleared, a dark tunnel stretched into the planet's heart. Inside, the air felt alive. Electric, almost aware as they walked deeper. The walls began to glow with faint blue lines pulsing softly. "This technology shouldn't still work," said one of the scientists. "It's thousands of years old." Valara touched the wall and it responded with a spark of light, forming words before her eyes. "Welcome. Descendant of the stars." The crew froze. "Who activated that?" The captain barked. Valara whispered, "It knows us." They followed the tunnel until they reached a massive chamber. In its center rested a colossal ship, half buried in rock and dust. Its hull was black metal, smooth and unbroken even after centuries. A single word was written across the side in faded white letters. "TDS Vigilance." "This is a Terran defense ship," Valara said in awe. "One of the originals," before anyone could respond. The ship's lights flickered on. A voice echoed through the chamber. Deep, human calm. "Violation detected. Terran line compromised. Defense protocol Alpha re-engaged." Panic rippled through the crew. "What does that mean?" the captain shouted. But before anyone could answer, every device in the chamber powered down. Only the ship remained alive, humming with energy. Valara stepped forward. "Can you hear us?" "We come in peace," the AI responded. "Peace was offered once, it was ignored. It will not be offered again." The ground began to tremble. Red dust fell from the ceiling as engines buried deep below started to move. Valara screamed, "Everyone out now!" They ran back through the tunnels as the ancient ship broke free from its prison. It rose slowly, lifting out of the ground, massive engines glowing blue from orbit. The crew aboard the Orion watched in horror as the surface of Mars cracked open, revealing hidden structures stretching for miles, bunkers, silos, and dormant fleets. By the stars, a pilot whispered, "How long have they been down there?" Valara's voice came through the comms, breathless. "Since before your council was born. Back on Earth, deep under the Atlantic." Admiral Orion stood in front of a giant holographic display. The image showed Mars awakening. "The vigilance has risen," the AI reported. Orion nodded slowly. "Then the failsafe has begun. The galaxy will know soon. Should we warn them?" the AI asked. He shook his head. They wouldn't listen. They never do. He turned toward the glowing map of the galaxy, red zone spreading like blood. "Let the message speak for itself," he said. "Let them remember why the Terran line exists." Meanwhile, on the Orion, the scientists tried to flee, but their ship refused to launch. Every system had been locked by an unknown signal. On the main screen, a face appeared, human but not living, a projection of an admiral from a forgotten time. His voice filled the air, calm but filled with power. You stand where our blood was spilled, you touched what was not yours. You were warned. Valara looked up, tears in her eyes. Please, we only wanted to understand. The hologram turned its gaze toward her. Understanding comes after respect, and respect comes after loss. A moment later, the hologram faded. The Orion systems released their hold and the ship shot upward, escaping the Martian surface just as the Vigilance fully emerged. Its engines ignited with ancient fury, burning brighter than the sun. Valara watched from orbit, her heart pounding. It's not just a ship, she whispered. It's a warning. As the Vigilance turned its hull toward deep space, a pulse of light shot out, crossing the stars. Every major system in the galaxy received the same transmission. Protocol Alpha reinstated. Unauthorized presence detected. Terran defense grid now active. And across the galaxy, fear began to spread like wildfire. Across the void between planets, the signal from Mars kept spreading. Each wave carried a message older than the Galactic Council itself. Protocol Alpha reinstated. Every satellite that still had human code deep inside its memory came alive. Every dormant outpost, every dark relay station that had slept in silence began to glow. It was as if the galaxy itself took a breath and held it. Waiting on Earth, deep under the ice of Antarctica, long corridors lit up one by one. Dust fell from the ceiling as huge doors opened, revealing hangars full of black metal ships. For centuries they had rested, untouched by time, covered by layers of frost and silence. Now their engines started to hum again, low and cold. A human technician, pale from the cryo chamber, whispered softly, "They called us extinct." Admiral Orion Cade stood at the heart of the Awakening Command Center, staring at the glowing maps that filled the room. Red zones marked every system that had dared to enter the Terran line. Blue lights marked every Terran fleet now coming online. "Activate all sleepers," he said calmly. "The line has been breached twice. We respond now," the AI Sentinel Prime answered. "Acknowledged, Admiral. Awakening long-range fleets, opening dark stations in the depths of Jupiter's orbit." Giant rings spun to life, releasing ships the size of mountains. Their surfaces reflected no light. They were invisible, the Phantom Armada. From Neptune's shadow came carriers shaped like daggers, moving silently toward the stars. The old flag of Earth appeared again across every screen, simple and bold. Terran defense grid active. Far from the solar system, near the border worlds of the Zorath Empire, trading vessels detected strange energy spikes. At first they thought it was pirates, but when the readings continued to grow, panic spread through the colonies from the darkness of deep space. Hundreds of massive objects appeared. They did not broadcast identification codes. They did not answer hails. They simply drifted forward in perfect formation. A merchant captain sent a distress call. Unidentified fleet approaching, no response. No life signs. Moments later, his transmission ended in static. In the capital of Zorath Prime, alarms filled the sky. The Emperor rushed to the balcony. The night above his world shimmered with unnatural light. Then the stars moved one by one. Terran dreadnoughts dropped from FTL transit, silent and dark. Their hulls reflected the red glow of the planet below. There were no warning shots, no threats, only presence. Massive, endless, unstoppable. The Emperor fell to his knees, his voice trembling. "What have we done?" A voice answered through every comm network in the Empire. "Common human. You crossed the forbidden line. We are the consequence." Back in the council hall, chaos ruled. Dozens of species shouted over one another. News streams showed images of ghost fleets appearing near border systems. Entire sectors going dark. Valara stood at the center of it all, her face pale but determined. "I warned you," she said softly. "The Terrans are not dead, they were waiting." "Always waiting," the speaker shouted. "We must fight back." Valara looked at him with disbelief. "Fight them? You don't fight a storm, you survive it." But no one listened. Pride had blinded them all. Moments later, the entire council chamber shook. Communications from 6 core worlds went offline. An aide screamed, "They've cut our jump routes!" Valara turned slowly toward the stars visible through the window, whispering that they're not attacking, they're isolating us. Meanwhile, within the heart of the Terran command network, Admiral Orion watched the data flood in. "Zorath fleet scattered, council in disarray," the AI reported. "Good," Orion replied, his tone distant. "Make sure the colonies are untouched." "We fight only those who entered the line." Sentinel Prime paused. "You still show mercy?" "Admiral, Orion looked at the image of Earth and smiled faintly. Mercy is the reason we built the line. He walked across the bridge, his boots echoing softly. They think the border was a wall, it was a warning. And a promise. Outside the viewport, thousands of Terran ships drifted silently in formation, their lights reflecting like stars reborn. On the far side of the galaxy, a small science vessel picked up the human transmission. The crew, a mix of alien races, played it out of curiosity, expecting noise. Instead, they heard a single human voice, firm and calm. To all civilizations beyond the Terran line, "This is not a war, it is a correction. Respect the boundary. Remember what you awakened." The signal ended. Leaving silence behind, the crew looked at one another. No one speaking. Finally, their captain whispered, "If this is correction, I don't want to see punishment back on Earth." The skies shimmered faintly as power grids across the planet connected again. The oceans glowed with light from deep underwater structures. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a fragile peace they once offered and were denied. Admiral Orion watched the blue world spinning slowly below. He raised his hand and said quietly, "The galaxy forgot us." But the stars did not, and somewhere far away, the Vigilance, the massive Terran warship risen from Mars, moved into deep space, leading the Phantom Armada toward the Council's borders. The return of the Terrans had begun. The world of Zorath Prime had always been loud, its skies filled with trade ships, its cities glowing with endless lights. But now silence ruled its heavens. The people gathered in the streets, staring upward, for the stars themselves had vanished behind a wall of shadow. Every telescope, every scanner showed the same thing: a dark cloud surrounding their system, moving like a living storm. It wasn't gas or debris, it was metal, ships, thousands of them perfectly aligned, the Terran Phantom Armada from the Imperial Palace. The Emperor watched the black horizon swallow the light. "Open channels," he ordered. "We must negotiate." His voice shook, but his pride forced him to stand tall. When the communication link opened, only static filled the air. Then, a faint human voice spoke, calm, ancient. "Negotiation ended the day you crossed the line." The Emperor clenched his fists. "You cannot destroy an empire for curiosity," the voice replied. "We can and we will, for curiosity without respect is invasion." Moments later, the skies lit up not with fire, but with light so white it turned night to day. It wasn't a weapon strike, it was something far worse. Every Zorath military satellite, every communication relay, every ship in orbit shut down at once. Their power vanished, their systems went dark. The Empire had been blinded in the great capital city. People screamed as the lights died. The massive towers flickered and dimmed. Ships crashed into each other above the surface, falling like burning meteors. The Emperor's guards tried to protect him, but the palace shields flickered. Failing one layer at a time, then came the sound, the deep, heavy roar of Terran engines descending through the clouds. No alien in that world had ever heard such a sound. It was not like thunder, it was older, heavier, filled with purpose through the storm. The Terran dreadnought TDS Requiem appeared, larger than any structure on the planet. The ship's surface shimmered with symbols of old Earth. Lions, eagles and stars. As it passed, the air shook. The ground trembled, and then, all across the world, the same message echoed through every surviving device. This is not conquest. This is consequence. The Emperor fell to his knees before the burning skyline. His generals cried out, "We surrender!" But no one answered, because surrender was not part of the protocol. The Terrans did not conquer, they erased. One by one, the Zorath command stations vanished. Not destroyed, but simply gone. Every data core wiped, every weapon turned to dust. The empire that had mocked humanity now stood hollow, its memory stripped from history high above. Admiral Orion Cade watched through the viewport of the Vigilance. His expression unreadable, Sentinel Prime reported. "Zorath communications eliminated. Planetary command structure dissolved." Orion nodded slowly. "Good, now disengage active fire. We have made our point." The AI hesitated. "And the civilians?" Orion turned to look at Earth's symbol on his arm. "Mercy remains always," he said softly. "Transmit evacuation routes. Give them a chance to live without power, without war. Let them remember what happens when pride replaces peace." Back in the Galactic Council Hall, the speaker screamed at his aides, "They've destroyed an entire empire. We must strike back." Valara stood near the window watching the reports flood in. She turned slowly toward him. "Strike back?" Against what? They erased Zorath without firing a shot. The speaker shouted, "They will come for us next." Valara's voice was calm but cold. "No, they will come only if you cross their line again." Silence fell over the council. Every world leader watched the images. The Zorath fleet turned to drifting wrecks, their planets dimmed like dying embers. The galaxy that once laughed at Earth now trembled at its name. Across the stars, smaller empires began to shut down their border projects near Terran space. Trade routes changed direction. Merchant ships turned away when they saw the faint blue glimmer of Terran drones watching from the dark. Children whispered the new myth, "Don't go near the blue stars." That's where the humans watch. On the bridge of the Requiem, Admiral Orion stood alone, the battlefield quiet beneath him. He looked toward the planet and whispered, "We asked for peace, we were exiled for mercy, yet they still came." Sentinel Prime spoke softly. "Do you regret it, Admiral?" Orion smiled faintly. "No, because now they'll remember." He turned toward the stars and gave the next order. "Prepare transmission. Send the message to every system. It's time the galaxy hears from Earth itself." The AI confirmed. "Ready." "Then send it," Orion said, his voice like steel. Moments later, every communication relay across the galaxy came alive with the same broadcast. A human admiral appeared, face calm, eyes filled with cold resolve. "This is Admiral Orion Cade of the Terran Defense Grid. The Zorath Empire has fallen not by war, but by their own arrogance. Humanity does not seek conquest, we seek silence. Respect the Terran line and you will never see our fleets again. Cross it and you will never see anything again." The message ended. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was silent, even the Council did not speak. Far beyond the stars, the Terran fleets turned away, disappearing one by one into the void, leaving only echoes and fear behind. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy was quiet. No fleets moved. No trade convoys dared to cross near the Terran line. The stars that once burned bright over Zorath Prime now flickered faintly. Whispers spread through every world, through every species. The humans have returned. In the great chambers of the Galactic Council, fear replaced arrogance. The mighty speaker who once mocked humanity sat pale and trembling. Dozens of representatives argued in panic. What are they planning? Will they strike again? Can we reason with them? No one had answers, only silence and dread. At the center of the chaos, Counselor Valara stood calm, her eyes on the stars beyond the hall's glass dome. She spoke softly. "You all called them ghosts, legends, myths, yet they warned you again and again. And now they've reminded us who they are." The speaker shouted, "We must fight. We must rebuild." Valara turned to him, her voice sharp. "Fight? Against whom?" "They erased an empire without touching a trigger. They control the silence itself." Across deep space, in the command bridge of the Vigilance, Admiral Orion Cade watched the galaxy's chaos through the endless holographic feeds. The AI Sentinel Prime reported, "Every major power has stood down, Council in confusion, border fleets retreating." Orion nodded, his expression calm. "Good. Then the message has been received." He walked toward the viewport. Earth reflected in his eyes, glowing soft and blue. "Send it," he said quietly. The AI responded, broadcasting to all open frequencies. A moment later, every communication system in the galaxy came alive. Screens lit up in starports. Military bases and homes, every being, rich or poor, soldier or farmer, heard the same voice. It was deep, steady, unmistakably human. "To every civilization beyond the Terran line," the voice said, "this is not a declaration of war. It is a memory, a truth. Humanity was not destroyed. We watched, we waited, we learned, and we built in silence. While you fought each other over our ashes, we prepared for peace." The camera shifted to reveal the image of Earth, surrounded by a halo of light. The blue oceans shimmered beneath shields of invisible power. The Admiral continued, "You crossed the line not once but thrice. You ignored the warnings left in kindness. You took our silence as weakness. But silence was mercy." The voice softened slightly, carrying both sorrow and strength. "We are not gods. We are not monsters. We are humans, and we remember every war, every betrayal, every scream. It shaped us. We will never strike first, but we will always finish what others begin." Then the screen changed again, showing the Terran fleets, vast, dark, endless, drifting through space like shadows. Each ship bore the same symbol, a white circle around a blue star. "The Terran line is not a wall," the voice said. "It is a promise. Step beyond it and you choose silence. Respect it. and you will know peace beyond measure. In every corner of the galaxy, the message played. Alien children stopped their games to listen. Soldiers paused on their battlefields. Even the most powerful rulers lowered their heads, because they could feel the weight of the words, not hatred, but finality on the Council's homeworld. Valara watched the broadcast alone. A single tear rolled down her cheek, not from fear, but from awe. They never left us, she whispered. They were watching, protecting us from ourselves, back on Earth. Admiral Orion turned off the transmission and stood silently for a long time. He walked to the observation deck, the stars stretching endlessly before him. Behind him, Sentinel Prime spoke. The galaxy will remember this day. Orion smiled faintly. Good. That is all we ever wanted. For them to remember. The AI asked softly. What now, Admiral? He looked down at the blue world below. Now we rest. We stand watch. The Terran line remains. He placed his hand on the cold glass. Peace is not weakness, he whispered. It's the strength to stop when others won't. Far beyond, in the ruins of Zorath space, a small beacon blinked faintly among the wreckage. A survivor ship drifted through the dark, its captain recording a message to his people. We saw them, they were not machines. Not demons, they were human, calm and silent. And we were nothing before them. He ended his message with trembling words. Pray they never have to rise again. And so the galaxy returned to uneasy peace. Trade resumed, borders redrawn, but no ship, no matter how bold, ever dared to cross the Terran line again. It became legend, a border between arrogance and memory, between light and the silence that guarded it. Every navigator, before entering a new sector, checked the same words on their charts. Terran line, do not cross. And above them all, somewhere beyond sight, the humans watched, patient and eternal, silent guardians of a peace they bought with both mercy and fire. The stars glimmered softly across the black sea of space, and in their light a whisper carried through the void. We are humanity and we are home.